But today in free flow, man, things that we want to think about is things that just come up in our minds that we thought about that might be of some interest to you because we know you're thinking about different things also. And those things that you're thinking about are real, they are relevant for whatever reason in your life, right? So we just gonna introduce a few concepts, a few ideas around Savage Will and thinking about it. So what I want you to do, if you don't mind, go ahead and invite yourself and be fully dialed in. Invite your friends, your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, co-workers, people that are stuck in the straitjacket of their own imaginations. Go invite them out right now. It's time to attack this stuff, to get untethered, unpacked, unhindered, unhinged, to accomplish the greatness you have been built for. That's what Savage Will is all about. Now, listen, you can subscribe to us, go on to YouTube, Spotify, Google Posts, podcast, rather, I'm sorry, and follow us on Facebook every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So great and grateful that we're just 2 hours apart now instead of 3 hours apart. So let me just land it right here. Every human being has the ability to completely control their own mind. Napoleon Hill said that, right? And so that means we have a greater ability to accomplish anything we want, to settle anything that's not going on in our lives the way we want it to go on in our lives. We have the ability to change and transform that. It's all in our mind, and it's in the mind of our heart. But it's up to us to dissect that kind of stuff and deal with it. And even if we have to get help in dealing with those types of trappings, what I call the straitjacket of your imagination, if we have to get help in dealing with that, it's imperative that we go ahead and launch out, especially in these days ahead, to get out of those straitjackets. Otherwise, if you stay in the straitjacket of your imagination, then you're subject to the pollution of noise that can come from media about any and everything negative. And that pollution will certainly sully your outlook on life. And once that's all smeared and sullied and looks dirtier than what it can be and what it should be, because you're in control of your own mind, your own thoughts, and your own destiny, if you allow that madness to stay that way, if you allow that jacket to tighten up, straight jacket to tighten, everything in your world is going to turn ugly and you're not going to like it. So before we go any further, I want to say happy birthday to me because yesterday, 11/11, was my birthday. I was born on 11/11 at 11, and my mom said between 11/11 and 11:34 p.m. So crazy stuff. I'm a Veterans Day baby. But I want to stop, and first thing I want to do, besides just giving you that intro I just gave you, I want to honor and salute our veterans, their spouses, their families. My tribute to them is that I believe veterans should be honored for a full 30 days minimally. And there should be recognitions of both the great and the small, the contributions that they gave. A lot of men and women have given their lives. A lot of families have given their prayers and their energy to see their loved ones off and to see their loved ones return. And even more so when they return and they're maimed because of the act of war. And that additional commitment that must go forward to make sure they have some quality of life, altered quality of life. So I also believe that these people who have made these ultimate sacrifices for us to enjoy freedoms and ideals that shouldn't be politicized, not at this place. I believe that we should have service and support that goes beyond where it is right now for them for the rest of their lives and their family members for the rest of their lives. They've protected us, they protected our ideals, they've given us the opportunity to be entrepreneurs and say almost what we want to say. We do know some of that's still restricted, but they've given their best so we can act like we're blessed right here on this planet. So big kudos, big ups, big salute, big honor to the men and women that have sacrificed at this level. And to my brothers, my fraternity brothers, my football track and field brothers, and those other friends of mine, my mentors, All of you that served in the military, my friends, those of you that served in the military, you guys know I love you. And I said it yesterday, and we had the privilege of honoring some um, vets yesterday for a few moments. My wife led the charge on that. So I just want to say, think about it. We should do better for our people who have served, their families who have served, and all that they've given and still have to give. So that's one of mine. Think about it. George, pick it up, baby.
Yeah, I just want to say a huge thanks to all the military. With having family that's in the military and been in the military, you kind of get a firsthand. Besides being you're actively serving, you kind of see what all goes into it, and it's definitely a sacrifice that I'm super appreciative of. And it's tough. You have to uproot your family. You don't get a lot of the privileges or freedoms, I guess you could say, even though you're out there fighting for freedom. So it just very appreciative, very thankful for everyone that served. There's a lot of great things in our country that are set up because of the military, and I think we take those things for granted all the time. So I'm 100% on board with. We should celebrate them all the time.
That,
you know,
that's it.
so it's one of those things that we should continue to think about and give thanks for, and continue to find active ways to go ahead and help active or former military in our neighborhood, in our community, in our state, in our country, just to see, just to show gratitude. And then also, like you were saying, because it is mentally taxing, it is hard to get plugged back into, like,
Yeah,
the real world. So it's some of those things are something we as a society probably should continue to improve upon.
yeah.
um, just getting them plugged back in, and finding you know productive and other ways to serve and become a part of the, I guess, society again.
Yeah,
um, so yeah, just super grateful, super appreciative. There's a lot of things that you know things we should think about, and I think that's definitely one. Like you mentioned, we have direct control of our minds, the Napoleon Hill quote. And sometimes we're in a state where we don't, right? And we have to constantly work towards that, and that's a biblical theme as well.
it is.
Controlling your mind,
Yep.
controlling your body, controlling your actions, controlling the way you feel, think, and act is something that's crucial if you want to achieve above and beyond results in this life, and doing things. The Andrew Tate comes up a lot on my feeds, and I just see a lot of his quotes. And um, one of them is that he talks about how people pay attention too much to what they feel, like how they feel in the morning. Like, regardless of how he feels in the morning, he's going to take the same action,
Yep.
right? So, regardless of how sore he is, he's going to get up and work out. Regardless of how whatever he is, down, depressed, out, frustrated, things aren't going his way, he's going to get up and go to work, because you know that's what we have to do. We have to be consistent, we have to be strong, we can't just let the situations and circumstances of life tie us down to where you know life is controlling us rather than we're controlling our life.
That's hot, man. I love what you just said right there, and I love his approach. I think it's interesting talking about the control over that mind for another moment. Yesterday, and I see this every now and then. Americans know how to get on one accord. We know how to diffuse politics to some extent. Because yesterday, with Veterans Day, maybe it's just me, but I felt that the energy in the United States of America settled in this regard. We focused our minds on what our veterans contributed to us. And for a moment, we stopped a whole lot of noise. That goes to that emotional part you're talking about. We stopped a lot of noise because we stopped focusing on us. We stopped focusing on our state of being POWs, prisoners of war, in our own minds, in our own emotions. We stopped. We put brakes on that for a moment, and we didn't even realize we had the straitjacket on because we were thinking about the best good for somebody else, just like they did when they enlisted at 17. Some of them at 17, some at 16, getting parental clearance or guardian clearance to go do that, to serve their country. And now we have a responsibility to ourselves to serve our country, the country of our mind, the country of our heart, the country of our physical health condition. We have a responsibility to serve it well and to serve it in health. And so mental health is a big deal. And so we know that our returning soldiers, mental health is a big deal. PTSD. I don't know about you guys. I've been in a few car accidents, and the shock, the trauma to the brain has created what would be classified as PTSD, right? Some memory loss and some other stuff that is going on. But every morning, I understand and understood that this happened. Much like what George was alluding to a few minutes ago, I make it a part of my action plan before my feet hit the ground to pray and thank God for a new day. Thank God to be clothed and robed in a right mind, right? So I know that when I'm praying these things, give me wisdom, knowledge, understanding, perfect discernment, perfect spirit to live, so I can make perfect decisions and be of service and a benefit to, if it's one person that their life might be changed, so be it. So that's how I begin my day. And I know when I finish that prayer, that whatever damage has been done that can affect them and mess up my life and my ability to contribute, it's already taken care of. I don't know what you do, but for me to unravel and to make sure I don't put the straitjacket of woes and concerns on my body and start allowing it to dictate to me and run my life, I start off with that prayer. I remember Hulk Hogan used to talk about the vitamins and the prayers. He used to give up all the time. He was an entertainer, but at the end of the day, I looked at part of his message. He gave up his vitamins and he gave up his prayers, and he kind of changed the game, for a minute. And then we got some other personalities that came in, started cracking beer cans and tossing them up, baby. And people got off on that vibe. And I'm cool with all of that, because what I started to realize is they were cracking their own shells, and they were in their alter personalities, and they were getting stuff done, and they were influencing the country. How about us? But think about it. In your altered state, whatever's happened to you, and you put together your master plan to get whatever that's happened off your back, out of your emotional realm, out of your intellectual realm. So you stop studying into your hurt and your pain and your woes and tightening your straitjacket up. You decide, I want this off. I no longer want this to be a part of my life. And you take active, direct, purposeful, intentional action to negotiate the release of your thoughts, the prisoners of your wars, the prisoners of your woes, the prisoners of your concerns. How much greater would America be if all of us got on one accord to get unraveled, unpacked, untethered, to get to what we were actually built for? Think about it. What would you do? How many books would you write? How many businesses would you begin? How much time would you rededicate to your family and your friends and the improvement of yourself so that relationship could be better? Think about it, George.
Yeah, I think one of the things that comes to mind is defining that time where we have like our alternate personalities come out. That I think of it like this, because we all find ways to de-stress. We all find ways to cope. We all find ways to deal with things in life. And what immediately came to mind was people like turning to substances for stress relief, whether that's like alcohol, whether it's drugs, or even just food, right? I think food, like sugary foods, or even just you could eat all the right things, but if you're overindulging, I think that's a way we can try to find stress relief and deal with things also. So it's those, in my opinion, is like finding the wrong ways to, you know, deal with stress, deal with anger, deal with the things that aren't going well in life. Are those are like false ways or ways that are going to get in the way of, continuing to move down the path that you're walking down, right?
100%.
So I tell people this a lot is in some ways I don't know that alcohol in general really correlates with a lot of like growth in any capacity, whether it's spirituality, whether it's careers, whether it's growth in the gym, physically, mentally, spiritually. Some people can tolerate it, but in my opinion, if I don't have the results in my life that I want and I have like goals that I'm trying to achieve, why add anything to the mix that could potentially take that away? Right? To each his own. Everyone's got to set their own boundaries, set their own limits, come up with like non-negotiables. But in my life, my journey, my path, um, it just seems to be one of those things that every time I go to it, if it's in a social gathering, and I've never really been a giant drinker anyways, but even if it's a glass of wine at dinner, then like, I just feel it the next day and I feel like mentally in a fog. I feel less energy. I feel, like I have to recover from it. And why would I continually go back to something that I have to recover from if it's not like, working out where eventually it's going to build me up greater than what I am now, right? Alcohol just kind of doesn't do that. So, like I said, to each his own, but that for me has been one of the things that, and I see people go to in their alternate personalities, like when I say that, I mean like when they're trying to act out, trying to de-stress, trying to find comfort and whatever. Um, I always hear
It's
this,
a hiding place.
yeah, hiding place, try to hide behind something, try to find that release somewhere.
That's the prisoner of war thing that I was talking about. Sometimes situations put us into challenges that we have to face, fight out, look at a plan, create a plan, fight our way out, right? Those are situational. But then when we use substances and we feel how they're abusing us, we know it changes when we use and when we don't use, but we still go to it. We
Mhm.
and then if we hide even behind sexually acting out or any other addiction, then we've made ourselves a prisoner of that woe, a prisoner of that concern, and we can then we are easier, more susceptible to blaming other people, situations, and stuff.
Yeah, we're in a reacting mode, not responding, and then
100%.
we turn into the victim, right?
Right.
So we lose control. So, and then that goes to speaking to that, because like when you're intoxicated to any capacity, you start to lose the ability to sense, like by your nervous system. So you're
Right.
losing sensory input. You're losing control of the environment. You're losing control of how you feel, think, and act. Right. Some spiritual gurus would say that you're losing consciousness, and consciousness is something we gain awareness from, you
Right.
know like gaining the awareness of our environment, who we are, how we can input into the our society, and what skills and tools we bring to the table. And even now, there's a guy named Andrew Huberman coming out with some things out of Stanford, saying that even if you have like one drink every 2 weeks or something like that, the amount of inflammatory stress or cortisol spiking stress in the body increases, even if it's even that infrequent. So I'll have to kind of get some more details on that, but I think it just affects us more than we realize, and we have to be conscious of these things if we're trying to, you know, find out where we struggle, and jump over our own hurdles in life and continue to make strides towards improving, untethering, unlocking, and moving towards a life that we love and that we're in control of, and gaining the awareness of how we can find our purpose in the world.
Chicken, man. I want to say chicken. So check it out. Chicken. And here's why I say chicken. It's like this, because I want you to get in. I want you to get that medical mind going right now on this chicken chip. Check it out. So chicken, right now, everybody's baptized into chicken, right? We meal prep off of chicken and rice and some type of veggie and what have you. And people are getting gains from them. I'm not knocking it. Not just saying chicken. Watch this though. Red meat. So red meat was a big deal. We know it takes about 96 hours to process out of our bodies. But then we put this whole thing together that red meat is inherently bad for our bodies. It's not so, because out of that red meat, what does it do for our ability to properly utilize copper and properly utilize iron that helps in the absorption of other vitamins and minerals and helps to offset inflammation? What if we keep leaving all that out? Are we going to ever be able to hit optimal health, optimal weight loss? We can. Some people are doing it because their bodies are more acclimated to that chicken. But what other parts are they leaving out? Is their copper is still being affected? Their iron is still being affected. We've got to pick it up from somewhere else. My whole thing is it's that chicken lifestyle, right? So I'm gonna model that to something. We're always dealing with the chicken. We never get into the beef. What if by being so stuck to this one rhythm and we're all bouncing to a weaker flow and we're afraid of being balanced? Well, we can do the chicken and we can do some beef and we can do some things in moderation, and then it'll help us eliminate possibly that need for some of these other things that so easily addict our bodies. George, you got that medical mind thing going on. You went to school for this stuff. Talk to us.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people they're like, yeah, I'm really trying to eat like a lot of chicken and fish and no red meat. And in my opinion, they have it kind of backwards, because red meat is it's so much easier to control the diet of a cow versus the diet of a chicken versus the diet of a fish, just because you know Paul Saladino, he's a doctor that kind of promotes a ancestral based living. Mostly red meat, organs, fruit, and he puts honey in the mix, and then like raw dairy. So raw dairy, not pasteurized milk, not pasteurized butter. So there's so many benefits to red meat, and I think we've gotten off track because a lot of the issues we have today is because of seed oils. And seed oils used to be used as machine lubricant. When I say seed oils, I mean like palm oil, canola oil, and there's several other ones, but olive oil is okay, avocado oil is okay, coconut oil is okay. But he says those things aren't ideal because you don't experience that amount of oil when you eat an avocado. So it does take more energy for the body to process. Seed oils are higher in linoleic acid, which cause inflammation in the body. And then cholesterol has been touted as this bad thing, like don't eat the egg yolks, yada yada yada. But the clogging and just all the issues with the cardiovascular system, like that, he describes can be primarily attributed to the increase in seed oils and not getting enough sunlight and not exercising, right? So, and of course, you want to get it in healthy doses. You don't ever want to burn. You don't want to be the guy that looks like a lobster. I've been there. It's not fun. But like,
you got to get that D3 in.
Yeah, for the longest time. And then D3 is prevalent in beef also. And you want to get this grass-fed, grass-finished, beef. You want to stay away from the kind of the factory farming. You want to utilize local farmers as much as possible. A couple years ago, and he still has beef from it. My dad bought a cow. So it was like fully raised, ready to be like butchered. And my dad bought it after it was butchered, and he got every cut of the cow for $3 a pound. So like $3.50, I think, a pound. And so the fillets, the strips, the ribeyes, all of it, ground beef, it was all $3.50 a pound. And the freezer's been full for, a year and a half. And, you know, that's what our ancestors ate is, wild game.
They were
And
stronger and healthier.
yeah, and they went for, I think it's funny, get this, is that they went for the organs first,
Yeah,
especially the liver. The liver's one of the most nutritious, and they would end up giving like the fillet, what we tout as like the nicer cuts,
sure.
um, to their dogs and to their like animals that they had. So which is interesting because that's what we see, like the filet mignon or like the a nice New York strip as
I gotta
like being.
tell you, man, I had some of that last night. It was my birthday, man. My bride took me out to Oceans 44, right? We splurged and it was really nice. But I had that 45 day aged bone in prime rib cut joint and a couple of crab cakes, with a couple of bottom feeder shrimp joints on there too, man. It was delicious. But at the end of the day, I'm digging 100% where you vibing. You know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to throw out red meat, because for me, I found that when I eat just red meat, I feel better. I have more energy. I have more drive, focus. When I work out, I feel like I'm stronger and I feel like I can do it longer. To me, when I eat chicken is a dead food for me.
Yeah.
It gives me uh, whatever level of nutrient, but now I don't. So now I'm spending more time pumping myself up, and I feel a certain type of way, but I don't have that comes naturally. But I don't eat red meat every day, and it's
Yep.
funny. We used to be a meat and potatoes country, and that meat didn't always include chicken.
Hmm.
And I remember when we were growing up, our preferred food was if we had hamburgers or steak or something like that, or crabs, because we ate a lot of crabs as kids.
Hmm.
But then chicken was because you were in between bills. You
Yeah.
understand? You had to keep that food on the plate. But America, by and large, was a meat and potatoes, a meatloaf, a hamburger, a steak. It
Yeah.
was a whole lot, yeah, beef, and I don't know that I don't know that scientifically people were dying from the effects of cholesterol. Of course, it was a different society. We're more technically oriented now. And so we sit down a lot more. We have a whole lot of blood coagulation and poor circulation and all kind of stuff like that because of the lifestyle change. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, this is what you studied into. I don't believe that we had such rich cause and effect behind beef as we made it to be later.
No, there's a guy. His name's Dr. Jack Cruz. He's out in New Orleans, and he was a neurosurgeon for a long time. And he's got a cool story. He was at a cancer conference, and he got up and tore his meniscus just getting out of his chair. So it really kind of caused him to metaphorically get on his knees and kind of evaluate his body of like, like kind of bargain with himself, like, why is my body this way? How do I optimize all these other things? He started turning to diet. And what he really landed on, importantly, was his circadian biology, which is our ability to be in the rhythm with the natural cycle of the day,
Sure.
right? So his big deal is like when you wake up, and this is big because like night shift workers, I think experience this the hardest is the prevalence in breast cancer with night shift nurses is significantly higher
Yeah.
than those that don't work the night shift. And you kind of scratch your head. You like wonder, okay, what's that about? And well, it's just we're supposed to be in tune with the natural rhythm of the day. So that's why the sun comes up, it wakes us up, it increases the spike of cortisol, which
Yep.
is something that we need to wake up. What we don't need is this long-term prolonged spike of cortisol that creates oxidative stress and creates aging, creates all these other issues. That's a precursor to like some any form of inflammatory
Mhm.
reaction, right? Whether it's the flu or cancer, like it all begins on the cellular level as inflammation in some capacity. So um, he really honed in on the circadian biology is like when we wake up in the morning, we need to experience sunlight at least 15 to 30 minutes at least, and as naked as possible, right? Like our sun is supposed to, or our skin is supposed to see the sun.
Yeah.
So, and I think some people kind of debate about this, but 15 to 30 minutes a day, you get your vitamin D production from that amount of sunlight. And it's cool because we have to remember that we don't get vitamin D from the sun. Our body makes it in response to the sunlight. So our body has the tools to make it.
We got to activate it.
We have to activate it. Yeah, we have to turn the switch on. We have to get out in the sun and do that, which is really cool because our body knows how to do that. And so he kind of perfected that, like, don't eat right before bed. You know, be most active when the sun is in the sky, right? So, and those are the most productive hours of the day. And then at night, it should be as dark as possible in your thing. And if you have red light, you should utilize red light, because before we had the light bulb, all we had was candle flame, and like candle flame is predominantly infrared light. So it's the light spectrum of mostly red and yellow and orange. So all these white lights and indoor light, the LED lighting, our body responds to light. We have photoreceptors on all throughout the body, in our eyes, in our skin, and in every cell of the body, and light can pierce to the cellular level. So if we want to be healthy on the cellular level, we have to optimize our light that we're in. So he says that's more important than diet. That's more important than exercise, because honestly, people didn't have to exercise as much when they were in a natural environment, right?
So it's more labor intensive, but so some balance in both of those pieces. But you spot on. Keep going, man.
Yeah, so people didn't have to exercise a lot when they were in a more natural environment, more naturally lit, less artificial. He refers to it as non-native light or non-native EMF, like the blue light and things like that. So of course, we don't live in like a perfect world. So there are precautions and things that you can do to take those steps to kind of work more towards a natural environment. And one of those things is, like, he has the blue light blocking glasses. Those are something you should wear, an hour or two before bed, and you should gradually make the tint lower. So you maybe have a couple pairs, one that's like yellow, one that's orange, and then one that's like pure red. And I've worn them before, and like I try to just use like lamps with a red tint.
Sure.
So I don't typically always wear the glasses, but when I do wear them, when I use the red lights, like I just feel more tired when it's time to go to bed, which is what you want to feel like. We shouldn't be these high efficient machines 24 hours a day.
That brain rest.
Right. I always say we need to give our brain a bath, which is what happens when we sleep. Like, we have fluid that goes into the brain. It's like a sponge. It's just like cleaning our brain, like cleaning the brain. So that's why we need sleep. And I think there's some significant data saying correlating our testosterone levels with like the amount of sleep. And once you creep even to 7.5, like keep creeping down, like 7 hours, keep going down 6 hours, there's like, it's not linear, but there's a huge correlation with the amount of testosterone and like testosterone decline and amount of sleep. Like the less you sleep, obviously, the less testosterone in men is present.
So I'm gonna jump on that for a hot second, man. My brain has always been like hyperactive at getting ready to go to sleep, and I started making some definitive changes, intentional changes, and I introduced the melatonin into my diet, and before I go to sleep, and I take some tablets, and my rest started to really deepen. I saw something else happening. I went to deeper sleep, and I had less. I used to dream a lot, and so I'm certain I'm still dreaming, but now I don't have those deep dreams. My mind's not active. I'm not actively thinking through the night for this block of time, and I'm waking up more refreshed. Here's what I also notice: my body has been purging more fluid. My body has been pushing inches off without the workout. You understand? So I'm not giving 100% credence to the melatonin. I am getting more rest. And I know that as an athlete, former athlete, recovery is everything. And if you
Mhm.
don't get enough rest and you don't go deep enough in your sleep, you're not going to get that full recovery. You're going to still be inflamed in different places. So, to what you're sharing, more science based, this is good stuff. And this is those moments. This is why we call this show Think About It. I mean, because think about just what he just finished sharing for the last few minutes. This stuff is all relevant. And this all can help change and transform your life. Little steps. I mean, getting out 15, 20 minutes being nude, man. I mean, I want my son to leave the house. So I can be nude with my wife, man. We just walk around in the backyard for 15, 20 minutes. I'm good. 30 minutes. I'm good with that. But at
Uh,
the, at the end of the day, I'm digging what you're saying, but you have to start making changes. So let me introduce this piece right here. I work with people on a regular basis for two things: ministry or for health. So I think they both align to each other. So I met this guy. I was talking to him, and this cat lost 100+ pounds. I think it was like 152 pounds, and right at about a year and change. And I said, "How'd you do it?" And he started outlining for me. And the funniest thing about what you're saying, um, George, is that he was getting out more, and he couldn't walk very far at first. He was exhausted in his journeys until he wasn't, but he was getting out more. Number two, he said, believe it or not, I was eating a little bit more red meat, but not as much. And he said, I started taking control over my portions and I hydrated a whole lot more. And I'm like, dude, you went from this 300+ pound dude. He said, yeah, I went all the way down to this 135. And then I came back up to a healthier 170s where I'm at right now. I said, that's savage. I said, that's what Savage Will is all about. So I told him about the podcast and that untethering, that unhinging, that unpacking. Yeah, I said, so that's savage. I said, I want to bring you on the show so you can just give your testimony. So I'll be happy to, right?
mhm.
Talked to this young lady. She said, I lost 52 pounds in 5 months. I said, how'd you do it? What'd you do? She had a nasty breakup, but she turned that breakup into time where she could literally start working on her body, on her mind, and getting her mind back together. I got to back up to this 300-pound guy that's now 170. And this cat said, he said, listen, I had to fight in my mind. I said, tell me, that's the savage part. What did you do? Like the young lady, she had to put a plan together to keep herself savage. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't evolve without effort. So they both put plans together. And he talked about the plan, the mental part. I said, the part I want to hear, the part I want to bring in the podcast for, not only the pounds that you lost, but I also want to hear about your savage will, your mind. He said, look, dude, he said, I had to work hard to make myself believe in myself again and to know that I could take this weight off my body. The young lady said the same thing. Change your life. She looks like a model right now. This dude he's built. He said, I just need this, and this to enhance my life so I can make money off of it. And then it was this guy, he had a debilitating loss, and it affected his body. And then it affected his ability to rebuild his body because it affected his legs. And so he couldn't walk for a space of time. But he had what I called to him. I told him, I said, you had savage power and savage determination because he told me his story. I'm going to bring these cats on. I just want to bring him in on one of our broadcasts in the very near future, give them, 10, 15 minutes so they can bring us some savage understanding about how to get out of these POW traps, being prisoners of our own woes and concerns as a prisoner of our war. And so they all agreed that they was going to give up that time, right? And come on this broadcast and show what savage determination, savage power, and a savage plan can do for transforming your life. So I got a couple nuggets that I want to drop on you from this. And so what does it take for you to think about what you need to release so that you can change your story? And so for the one cat that had the debilitating loss in his legs, now he's got full use of his legs. He looks like a bodybuilder, and everybody wants to be trained by this guy because they saw what he went through over the last year and change. and they see who he is over the last year and change. So he has automatically a built-in business base. Watch this. He said, dude, I got 3 F's and 3 I's. I said, break them down to me, light me up. So he said, my 3 F's, write it down, guys. This is savage. Faith, family, and fitness. I said, I love it. I'm all over that. I said, I'm going to borrow it. I'm going to give it out on our podcast, and I'm going to bring you in because you originated that thought. I dig it. Then he says, I got 3 I's. I said, what are your I's? He said, intensity, integrity, and intelligence. I said, that's hot. I'm not even going to go into what that speaks to me because he did start to explain some of that. And I said to him, I'm not going to go into what it speaks to me. But when I bring you on the Savage World podcast, I want you to speak to it because I want you to bring that authenticity to it. I said, because here's one of mine. And I told him, I said, is the word tact, right? Tact being short for being tactical. And that's transparency, authenticity, courage, and trusting your own testimony. That transparency, I got to be honest with you about where I'm at, what I'm doing. I got to be honest with me, more importantly. If I'm upset with something, if I'm allowing avenues of my life to dominate me emotionally, spiritually, physically, and I'm become transparent to these things, and I start being true to myself about what this thing is doing to my life, damaging me. Like we just talked about the alcohol and we talked about the light and some other things. If I start to get honest with these areas and now I start becoming transparent and I start getting advice and I start talking to people and I'm being transparent to them about where I'm at, that's where healing starts. Now I can start conquering the issue, the disease of my life. Number 2, authenticity. Man, I got to be true to myself, right? I got to be authentic. So if I get a little loud when I'm talking right now, if you ever meet me, I get a little loud when I get excited when we meet each other. I'm authentic. What you see is what you get, right? And so I've worked on these different things for the wholeness of my life, but I've always been that motivated pep rally kind of guy in high school. My coach used to let me do pep rallies, get the whole school bouncing. Friendly High School, get them bouncing. We had pep rallies before the football games. He let me do the pep rally. I've been doing that all my life, getting the place hype. But I'm authentic to who I am and to my calling. So I'm true to it. Courage. You got to have courageous faith, right? And if you don't have courage to face yourself, to face your problems, then you will find a bottle. You will find something to smoke. You will find something to hump on because you're trying to hide from the dilemma of your life. You're not being transparent with yourself. You're not being authentic in your journey. And you're not showing the kind of courage you need to break that cycle, not only for yourself, but probably generationally. And then finally, on tact, is trusting your testimony. Listen, the things, if I tell you that I'm going through something, if I tell you that I've experienced something, I can trust that testimony. There are people that can authenticate what I'm saying and share with you. I saw that myself. I saw what he did. I saw when he went through that. I remember when he got rear-ended by the 18-wheeler. And I remember when he had memory loss and he couldn't remember the names of his own. He didn't even remember his wife and his children. I remember that. I remember when he couldn't remember. He was talking. He couldn't remember from 5 seconds ago what he just said and could lose his spot. I remember that. True to your testimony, trusting your testimony, because in trusting my testimony and that tact, I know that I can remember now that I can remember. And so that allows me the courage to face whatever I have to face, the authenticity to know that in my journey, I have an ebb and a flow, and I'm never going to be perfect in my ebb and my flow. What's perfect is my heart is going to get me to the next level. And then back to the transparency. You can see my journey. I'm not going to fake it for you. I don't have to fake it for you. I just got to be real about it. And so when I talk tact to everybody that's listening right now, if you get your transparency and your authenticity and your courage and you start trusting your own testimony, I assure you, you will get out of something that you find yourself stuck in. And if you apply what this brainiac over here on the other side just shared with you about the factory of your vitamin D, how it gets stimulated by sunlight, introduce some more red meat, start balancing out other things out of your life and get the light focus moving like the way it should go, then you're going to change the game. You'll be changing the game for your own life. This is savage right here, guys. This is a prescription for transformation. and getting unhinged, unpacked, unprocessed some of that old stuff that's held you bound. George, jump in there, man.
Yeah, it's just I always say it, but taking care of the physical a lot like makes room for higher realms of thought. Like whether that's spiritual, whether that's like business, whether that's self growth. Um, you know, you just look at some of the people that are very successful in the world, and they just take care of their bodies, because that produces like a productive mind, and they read and they're not tied to just the little woes of every day. Like, well, I don't feel great. My body doesn't feel great. Yeah, well, they optimize their body, but they're able to push past that because no one feels perfect. The guy, the girl that has the great results that you say or claim that you want one day, they don't achieve those things without obstacles. So it's a matter of limiting your resistance, and then when you do have resistance, is pushing past it because we're all going to have resistance. It's never going to be easy. So I think the biggest way to do that is to take care of your body and to really hone in on like your mind and that body mind relationship. So with me is like developing an ability to fast in some capacity, whether that's intermittent fasting, only eating one meal a day, and then throughout the rest of the day, just having like fruit or lemon water, just really listening to the body and trying to figure out what it needs, and getting out of this just we're going to eat 3 times a day because that's what we're supposed to do. And that's a product of the system. That's kind of goes into one of the other episodes that we've done. And that's not ideal for healthy living, so to speak. So
Or certainly for everybody.
yeah, really for everyone, unless you're a high performing athlete at the most elite level, you don't really need to be eating that often. And if you don't have that level of output, like the Michael Phelps diet, burning so many odd calories, whatever, I don't know. Everyone heard it when he was winning the gold medals. He's like 10,000 calories for breakfast, and
Yeah, but he's a human creator.
that's like a odd exception to the rule.
Yeah, because he was swimming like 8 hours in the morning or whatever that thing was. He was doing some incredible routine. And that's not a knock. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking him, and George is not knocking him either.
It doesn't apply to everyone.
It just doesn't apply to everybody. I mean, I remember going to a Washington Redskins. I'm an old Redskin fan. When they used to train up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And I watched these guys eat. And I was like, when I saw them eat at the training table, I said, there's no way I'll be able to play pro ball because I just can't devour like this. But I only saw the linemen. It was walking through my dad and myself and some of the
coaches for breakfast. I don't know what
they eat whole freaking chickens. And so I saw these dudes eating whole chickens, right? Drinking whole gallons of milk. These linemen. Like, it's no way in the world I can play ball. This is how these dudes consume. But it was relevant for them and relative to them for their position and everything else. But at the same time, when I saw the wide receivers and what they ate, this was different. It was a lot less. So my low young mind at that time, I couldn't understand it. My older mind, and as I played the game, I realized it was a diet for me, for quickness, speed, agility, explosion. There was a diet for my linemen. There was a diet for other skill positions in order to fuel that. And then I was always taught, when you get older, your body, because of the rhythm and because of what you've done and the habit, is going to want you to keep eating like this. You're going to have to pull that back and you're going to have to stop. Otherwise, you will blow up. And so in misstating, they would say your fat will turn, or your muscle will turn into fat. Well, fat, muscle, bone, and other tissue are 4 different components of the body. They're completely different. However, I did feed those fat cells, and it was difficult to break out of that. But I was able to. And at different times in my life, that tendency to try to be on that cycle, that I realized it really does not work for me. That 3 times a day really does not work for me. And what really does work for me is that one meal a day at the right time,
Mhm.
right? And hydrating and putting in a supplement like Bone Solid, which is the magnesium, the calcium, and the boron. Boron is something that's missing in so many of our diets right now today. Boron would help people with osteoarthritis in their joints and all that kind of stuff. People that have these meniscus tears and other kind of things and all that's associated with it, they have more boron in their diet for bone development and also to help retard inflammation and to fight against these later effects like the osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
They would get much better a lot faster and feel better because there will be a lot less inflammation in their bodies. For me, having remembered the need for boron, particularly in my diet with the calcium and the magnesium, that helps the degeneration that I've been affected by because of the accidents and having played football, degeneration in my neck. So it retards and slows that process. At the end of the day, our whole perspective here is not on science and all like that, but just the science of savage will. We're here to break some old patterns, right, and rhythms. George was talking about fasting, intermittent fasting. I should do that all the time, and now do again. But I had something that was put in my heart and to establish on Friday, April 28th, 2023, an International Day of Repentance, right? And that's going to go holistically. And that's repent from these old bad habits, old bad mindsets, old bad journeys with people and negativity that's in your life. Break the cycle. On one day, gear up and just confess and let go of all this old negative garbage. But to build up to it, so to build up 6 minutes and 30 seconds, pray a day. Just 6 minutes and 30 seconds, right? And on top of that, fast once a week. And then for then others, build up to twice a week. And then for some, 3 times a week if your body can stand it. Don't become religious about it. Just see if you can.
Yeah.
Till you get to that place. And when you get to that place, now reconditioning your mind and reconditioning your body and reconditioning your emotions, because emotional is will be an emotional journey, because when you fast alone, it's going to be that mindset that says, I can't do it. I'm hungry. I need this. I need that. And it'll cause you to cheat bigger than you'll fast it out. You're going to have to break through. But if you do that, we get to that day on one accord. One is unity. There's going to be a power release. I believe it's going to transform the world, the planet. Two, your body and your mind would have gone through a reconditioning process and program to set you 150,000 billion% free from. And if you can get free from your emotional entanglements, you can get free from your addictions. You can get free from misapplied intellectual knowledge. You can get free from inappropriate use of your temple for things that could be destructive, that could lead to cancers and other types of things later on in your life, or shorten lifestyle altogether. So we savage about a lot of things. And this is one that I'm savage about. I just want to introduce it to you. And for those that want to join in, join in. But it's going to be an International Day of Repentance. April 28, 2023 is coming up. But in the process, we're going to start breaking down plaque and stuff that's sticky to our arteries, that's sticky on our teeth, that's sticky on our ability, on non-ability to get things done. George, drop in, baby.
Yeah, I think also too, just if anyone's out there and they're like, fasting sounds impossible, is the more you clean your diet, the less often you need to eat, because you have more nutrient rich foods going in your body. Therefore, your body is utilizing that. You know, if you ate fast food all the time, then you're going to need more fast food to get the proper nutrition that you need. And your body really is going to become addicted to it because it thinks that's the source of food. And then that's your only source of nutrition. So when you eat something healthy, it almost feels wrong. But it's just all about a transition towards a natural, like a more natural, more healthy lifestyle. So don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's a transitional movement. And you want to be able to look back one day and say, hey, I used to eat this 10 times a month. Now I only eat it like 3 times a month. I still eat it and I know I shouldn't, but like you're moving in the right direction. So
Yep.
it's all about, success doesn't happen overnight. So it's all about that transition. So, um, being patient with that and being observant of everything that's going on in your mind through that process, because that's a whole like inner journey that, it's going to reveal a lot to you. And if you have the right pieces in play, like we talk about mentorship a lot, it's crazy how much your focus changes on like the primal things or the fleshly things in life, like the five senses, when you start to feed the body what it's supposed to be eating, what it's supposed to be observing with the light, what it's supposed to be hearing with sounds. Um, and then it's just your consciousness and your awareness of things changes dramatically. It's really crazy.
You get dialed in. Who
Yeah.
loves peas, right? Who loves peas? I love peas in my diet. Man, I love them. I love the skin on them. I love what they do, how they make me feel. But I'm talking about some different peas right now. So I'm going to introduce some stuff that'll help in your diet, right? And they're called the peas. First P is be positive. Man, there's a lot of ways we can think about information. There's a lot of ways we can accept people introducing new stuff, new concepts to us. But if we're positive and proactive with it, we can settle and calm some of the inconveniences of new information coming in that could be disruptive to what we're used to. The other P is perspective. If you change your perspective about who you are, what you're doing, where you want to go, change your perspective. You're in control of you. Believe it or not, you're in control. Society's not in control. The internet's not in control. Instagram, social media, other things, they're not in control. You're in control. But until you change your perspective about your capabilities, your needs, wants, desires, expectations, and how you're going to perform out of that, you're going to be stuck. So change your perspective. Pre-planning. I said April 28, 2023. So in pre-planning, there are things that have to be done. Learn how to pre-plan your life. Like we talked about meal prepping earlier in discussion about, think about it. Pre-plan your life. Pre-plan what you want to do. We call it goal setting. You can call it goal setting, whatever else. But if you pre-plan what you want to do and talk about what it is and where it's going to happen, where you want it to happen, and give yourself the flexibility that if it doesn't happen, then the fact that you were tracked on that course, you already won. Pre-planning. Prioritize. What's a priority? I think I heard somebody the other day say, write down the top 25 things that you want to accomplish, and then get rid of the other 20 and just focus on the top 5. Get rid of all the distractions and everything else. Prioritize what's important to you: needs, wants, desires, expectations, and then perform on them. You got to get there. So prioritize your life. Production. Do something with it. After you got this positive mindset that you wrote down, it could be 1 or 2 words, a paragraph. You change your perspective because you see the real you, the positive you, the powerful you, over and above everything else that's happened in your life. You pre-plan what that's going to look like now. You have a priority of what you want to accomplish in your life. Then do something. That's called production. Do something with it. What is it? What do you believe, Joker? Do it. And don't be afraid of it. Progress. Gain momentum. P is progress. Gain momentum. When I accomplish the one little thing, when I feel a better way, when I'm thinking a different kind of way, when positivity's hit me, when I tried this light concept that George was talking about, when I try the boron in my diet, when I try a little bit more red meat, not be afraid of it, because it used to be a good thing until they marketed chicken was a better thing. And when I start to go back and just start doing what's best for me and taking authority over me, then I start to gain some momentum along with the positivity, the perspective, the pre-planning, the prioritizing, and the production. Now I can progress. I'm gaining momentum. I got 2 more for you, maybe 3. Process. Invent the game. Invent the game. Change the game as you need to. It's called process improvement, process implementation. Simply re-engineer your strategy or your calling. That's actually called wisdom. It's a process. Somebody showed you the game, it worked universally. But for everyone that became successful, they had to tweak the game to fit their calling, their cause, what they want to do in life. That's wisdom. Then profit. It's two profits. It's PROPHET and PROFIT. The prophet with the PHET, speak things that be not into existence as though they were in your life. Start speaking it, affirming it, confirming it, start saying it. Change the game for your family, your lineage, for anybody that's connected in your orbit. Prophesy it, man, and then get the profit out of it. Prophesy what you want, and then how you want that to profit and pay you back. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the game. And then performance, closely aligned with progress and process and the profit is being convinced about who, what, why, where, how you are, and that everything can work symbiotically, can work synergistically, can work rhythmically to make you flow congruently in your life. There can be congruence for your life. And then pliable. Be pliable, man. Adaptable, malleable, be moldable. It's okay. You could be content rich, but you have to adjust the flow. Because if you don't adjust the flow, your content is meaningless and it can't serve many. And it may not even serve you. So you got to become pliable to adjust the flow. And then finally, the 11th thing is professional. Do it like you've made it. Walk in it like you're a boss in it already. Believe yourself. See, right now, I'm not trying to convince nobody. I believe what I'm saying. I believe my journey. And right, wrong, or indifferent, see, where it doesn't matter to anything else is that I believe if you put those P's on your plate and you start working them out without a whole lot of detail, keep it real simple so it's easy to digest, easy to chew on. And you just do one priority at a time, or two, no more than 5 for sure. 5 might be too much. Just take one and get successful at it. And once you bite off that success, then go ahead and add another. But I'm convinced that this works. I've seen evidence of it from people that played the games, and they're being bosses in their various callings and perspectives on what's profitable for their lives, how they called it in. So it works. I just call it a plate of peas, and I put it out there for you. And then I want to tell you this last part. For me, your mental health does matter. Drown the noise and the chaos through the inventions or the reinvention of yourself. Drown out all that noise that's been in your life. Stop trying to have everybody else define your life. We weren't trying to define your life. We gave you tools to make some things work. Intentional, on purpose, purpose-driven, in your communication to become a professional that you want to become. And you just got to silence your PTSDs, emotional buildup and traumas that you've suffered over time. Get rid of them. Get rid of them.
I think to hit on that is like drowning out the noise is really important, just because we live in a world where there's more noise than ever. So many screens, so many things, so many timelines to pay attention to, so many paths to success of other people that are just put in our face that we allow to be put in our face. Like, for example, like pro sports or like college sports, or who's making what, or whose contracts getting signed. It's crazy how much people know about other people's lives, but then when it comes to like achieving their own goals and paying attention to their own timeline, it's just a second priority. It's almost like they'd rather pay attention to the new quote by Trevor Lawrence, or Dak Prescott, or whoever you're thinking about. So it's like, will Aaron Rodgers, will the Packers win? It's all these other timelines that they're not going to win tomorrow. But anyways, and all these timelines, like Jerry's latest comment on Dak's broken hand, and fan base, and people know more about the Dallas Cowboys than they know about like how to create financial freedom in their life, because one, I think football is entertaining. It's nice to see, but also it's just that because they choose to spend that amount of time digesting that amount of information. Like if they spent half the amount of time coming up with a way to become financially free, there pretty soon they would do that, right? So it's
Yeah.
just now more than ever we have to silence the noise and have to like come up with ways that if we have interest, if we like football, if that's kind of like something we like doing and it's a way of de-stressing, we can't make it a career and get no financial return on it, right? So it's like we have to manage what we want in this life and really prioritize those 5 things or even just 3 things or even just one thing that is really going to give us what we want. And I quote him all the time because his quotes are spot on. But like Andrew Tate, again, coming for the win, and he says, if you're not like money, the only thing money can't buy is your health, right?
Right.
Like it can get things that can allow you to eat healthier and take care of yourself, but it can't necessarily, like if you're sick and you have a fatal or terminal illness, like money is not really great to have at that point. Like you'd rather have your health than money. But if you have your health, if you have your family, if you have these other things, and then like 3, 4, 5 down the list is money, like money gets everything else, right? So money provides options, money provides freedom, money provides opportunity to spend more time with the people you love, money provides the ability to provide a life that's more enjoyable for the people you love. A lot of people are scared of money. A lot of people think it's rooted in evil and having things is wrong. No, it's for the love of money is the root of all evil. So those sorts of things, like you have to be able to be responsible with the things you have. So
So let me touch that for a second. There's 4 things money can't touch though, minimally. Money
yeah,
can't, it will not ever buy you happiness.
mm,
Money will not buy you salvation. Money will not buy your health. And money will not buy the hero of you. All
right,
that's internal work. That's an internal process. And so money is good because money is like oxygen. We need it.
right,
And the more of it you have, the better you can do, not only for you and your family, but again, like I always say, all those people in your orbit, everybody that's interconnected to you anywhere. But when you have that perspective and you understand with a healthy mindset about the tool of money and what it can, in fact, do for you, there's nothing wrong with going to get paid. Go
hmm,
get paid and stop tripping thinking that it's something wrong with getting paid. George, I like getting paid also.
hmm,
People out there listening, I like getting paid. You need to like getting paid. So we can have less time and discussions about people getting paid and start getting some of the pay. We don't have
right,
to get in their bucket. We have to re-engineer ourselves off of that plate of peas so we can find out how am I going to get paid.
right. Like, do you think Bezos was sitting around whining about how the rich of the rich should be just sharing their money
He was
versus
thinking about how he can get his money.
exactly? So
How can I get my paper?
yeah, what's my vision? Like, what am I going to offer the world that's going to put me where I want to be one day, where I'm taking care of my family, where, that sort of thing. Like, that's the train of thought we have to be on, because if we limit the ability to become rich, then that limits our ability, right? So if we just want to tax the rich and the wealthy, then that's going to keep us where we're at in a way of, by de facto, I guess you could say, down the line, because art is, if richness is no longer accessible to like the common individual, because Bezos wasn't super wealthy. Guys like Joe Rogan lived on food stamps, right? So if our ability to move up the ladder is limited, then we're really doing ourselves a disservice, because we need to fight and work for the things we receive, not be just given them.
Here's the power of what you're saying. There's a whole mindset out there to keep 80-90% of the population locked into doing what everybody that's successful is doing. There's only a few people who want to have courage enough to go out and get paid for what they're uniquely and marvelously designed to get paid for. I'm looking at one of my friends. I call him my friend Doug. Thanks for joining us out there. Ophthalmologist, right? This dude works with your eyes. He's an amazing guy. Amazingly funny too. Beautiful family. His sons are tracking right behind him in his profession. But this dude found his niche. And it was about helping people, he's serving people by making these things right here work better. And so now he's carved out an amazing niche for his life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not ashamed of it because he puts his time in, he puts his work in, and he gets paid. But that's what he found for him. What's for you? So Q1 2023. I intend to have the manuscript for this book I've been writing on done. And by the end of Q1, early Q2, I expect to have that book released. And so I expect that there'll be speaking engagements around the world, teaching engagements around the world because of what's going to be in there content-wise. I believe that. We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes. Make that money work for you. Make that paper work for you, Doug. I hope you didn't get offended, man, by me celebrating you because you're a beast out there, brother. Listen, think about it. This is what we were talking about today. Think about it. You know, think about it. International Day of Repentance, April 28, 2023. Stop your negative action and begin to live. Join us for that. Start with your fasting, your prayer, your meditation, your affirmations, your sharing. Make that day a priority because it's your day of priority. And what you need to stop can be so much greater than what we just introduced today. This is savage will, savage understanding, savage power, savage impartation. So you can break away from stuff that don't work for you no more. And you can start making a difference and you can start impacting other people's lives. You were built for this. You were built for better. That's savage, baby. George, take us home, man.
Hey, guys, we appreciate you listening. As always, stay tuned. We're going to be coming back Saturday at 11:11 and with another hot episode for you. So we enjoyed it. Robbie, I enjoy you as always.
Man.
Savage Will's out. Appreciate it.
We out, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank everybody for joining. Hey, Herb, I see you, baby. I see the rest of y'all out there. Thank you so much. I see you, Samuel, and all the rest of you, Bernard. Savage, out.